My friends who do this, they actually have a reasonable amount of gold now. We have a friend who found like a nugget, like a golf ball nugget, and I know where he found it.
How much is a golf ball size gold nugget worth? Welcome to the Sent and Bent podcast, the official podcast of Grind Hard Plumbing Company. Today is our first day in the new garage, podcasting from the new garage. It is Friday the 13th, and speaking of the new garage, Will and I have already done some damage in here. Yeah. We're not even completely moved in yet. But for those of you listening, I'm sitting in a very nice go-kart that Will has already heavily modified, and things have not gone well in the first few days of the garage being done.
I actually think they went about as well as possible because I was like, this is a bad idea. This is a really bad idea. And then I just hear this, kabam! And I really thought there was going to be more damage.
It was so bad because, I mean, am I allowed to tell them like anything about this, or is it a secret? Right now?
There are no secrets on the podcast.
Oh, okay. No secrets on the podcast.
This is where we tell all the extra details that you don't get in the YouTube videos.
Good. So basically, we took this way overpowered electric power plant and stuck it in that go-kart right there.
It's 24 kilowatts.
Yeah, so it has like more power than Ethan's 450 dirt bike.
Wait,
80 foot-pounds of torque.
How many kilowatts is in that little car out there?
The little red
1.5.
So this thing's like 20 times more powerful than that car.
Yeah, than the 600-pound electric car.
Yes. Yeah. And that is super light.
Wheelies.
It already does. And it's only in the slow version because it goes reverse forward and reverse.
Let's start from the beginning for the good folks at home, Will.
Start from the beginning on how we built this.
Has a hard time. I have to remind him. Start stories from the beginning.
I know, because I like starting in the middle. It's always better that way.
Well, we've built up hype.
Yeah, so we took this super powerful electric power plant. We slapped it in this super duper light chassis that I picked up in the middle of Washington somewhere.
Oh yeah, how was that? Because
it was super.
You got this for $1,500, and it's
oh my gosh! And it was
$3,000.
wrapped, and it had like oil on everything. And then I brought it here, and we stuck it behind Ethan's green shed, and now it kind of looks like Shrek. It looks like it belongs up here for sure. It just is like crunchy. We did some more damage to it yesterday, but it's a little more worn down. But we took this insanely high-powered electric power plant that was in this, put it in that, and the motor mounts on that are the wrong way. But we've both done drone stuff, and we just thought that you could switch the three wires any way and change the way the motor goes.
It's a brushless motor, so we just put the position of the motor wherever made most sense for the go-kart. And then when we powered it on and gave it the beans,
it goes backwards at like 90 miles an hour. It goes so fast backwards, and it goes super slow forwards. And so we both had severe accidents in this thing.
Dude, watching you get drug out of the garage, I was like,
that thing pulled me. I don't know. We probably don't show videos on the podcast, but that thing ripped me out of the garage with the force of 3 Shreks.
It was like Thor pulling on his hammer. It looked like Will was being like a ghost was dragging him out of the garage at like 40 miles an hour.
And he's like, help, help. And we're like, we can't do anything, man.
It was terrifying.
Oh, jeez.
So basically what happened is Ethan just finished the garage. Electricity, brought all the tools here, and then he's on vacation for a week. So it's us three in this brand new, beautiful, shiny mansion of a garage, all to ourselves with no adult supervision.
Yep, basically.
And when this thing was done, we were like, oh, okay, well, let's just see if it'll do a donuts in reverse. And so Will gives it the first go because he did all the work, so it's only fair. And what did you say, Steven?
About what?
Before the first test drive.
Oh, I was like, I do not condone this. I was like, Ethan would not approve of this activity. And I was looking around at all the tools and everything, and I was like, I wasn't worried we were going to get hurt. I knew we were going to get hurt. I was just thinking, like, we don't want to damage this great new shop.
With all these nice walls that Ethan ripped every single one of these boards by hand.
And that thing would go straight through those walls and the insulation. Like, if we had hit the wood, it would have been a different story.
So Steven says, just make sure you take it easy and don't hit the golf cart or the walls. So Will goes full throttle, burnout in reverse. The throttle gets stuck, and then he slams into the golf cart.
It was the first thing we hit.
And you would think that this is enough to get us to stop. But no, because I need a turn. So I get in, and I do the same exact thing. We push in the throttle so far. There's a plastic piece here that it gets kind of hung up on because we didn't make a stop for the throttle, which the first thing Ethan said when he got back was, why didn't you guys make a stop for the throttle? Anyways, we didn't do that. So I go same exact thing, full throttle, burnout in reverse, let off the throttle entirely, and I'm just accelerating straight for the wall. I smash one of the steel beams, hold it up, folded the whole rear bumper of our previously perfectly clean go-kart, and my neck just went, what doink? And luckily we were wearing helmets for all of our crashes. But even after that, I think Steven said, okay, well, we're probably done filming the video, right? Because Steven was just trying to stop us because he knew.
I was just waiting for Ethan to come back and see like a Will-sized dent in the new siding or like.
And so Will was like, oh, this is cool. I think I figured out how to get it to do donuts forwards because it does go kind of slow forwards.
Really slow. It goes like 2 miles an hour.
So he locks in the throttle on purpose. And then he is doing stunt boy things like hanging off the seat and sticking his feet in the air. And I'm literally on camera saying, you guys are going to see this in the video in a couple weeks. I say, I feel like something bad is about to happen.
Oh yeah, that was a curse. That was
And
a curse.
Will thinks there's an off switch on this go-kart, and then there's also a...
And the off switch, the like way you switch the direction is not the right color in my mind. I mean, like, it's red and green. Red means stop. Haven't you guys played the game of green light, red light?
What the devil is that? Red light, green light?
You haven't
Green
played
light, red light.
green light?
The game where you run in a line and then they're like, whoa, stop.
And if
Orange
you're
light.
still moving, you're out.
Yeah, it's like to
Oh.
teach you traffic laws and stuff as a kid.
I haven't heard of this game.
But
You must not have paid
I grew up
attention.
in Clark Fork,
that
man. There
game.
was 50 people in Clark Fork.
Well, when you play red light, green light, it actually just makes you better at evading law because you can, like, you can see when they're not looking and stuff, and you can learn the ways of the road before you even get a drive. So it's a great game.
Is this where you learned
should-
your habits?
No, but this is where it started. I played red light, green light all the time. So, yeah, okay.
We should play tomorrow.
I'm just
at
saying,
the,
as a kid, you're taught that red means stop and green means go.
Okay.
And I was doing stunt boy tricks because it was so cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It looked
And
very
then
nice.
I went down to hit the stop button, and it actually just turned on reverse full speed, and the throttle was locked. It was
And then he
terrifying.
got dragged. I'm just surprised he didn't let go. He committed to not letting
No.
the go-kart go straight
I think his
into
foot was
Ethan's
stuck
house.
into it.
My shirt, my fancy shirt I had on, wrapped around the front tire so fast, turned into a knot, and it pulled me out. I wasn't trying to be on it anymore. I was trying to get off.
Oh, well, it just would have yeeted straight into Ethan's new truck. So I thought that
Yeah.
you were trying to protect the go-kart and
No.
Ethan's stuff by hanging on until it stopped.
Have you seen the 3-wheeler video where I just let a 4-wheeler go yoinking into Ethan's
Oh, I
garage?
really thought that was going to hit my car. I remember looking over and I'm like, well, I'm not going to not film it, but I was like, oh no.
How amazing is it that none of our cars have been shreked by rocks or anything?
Or by full vehicles, like
Yeah. Well, I just
It's
the best
amazing.
one ever was we put the supercharged snowmobile engine into the Triumph. This was before you guys were coming up here and working here, but it was just the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And I literally had a bird's eye view because I was in the FPV drone. It's always when Ethan isn't here when this very dumb things happen.
I wonder why.
Bird's eye view. Sam goes full throttle into the drift corner and straight through Ethan's garden, straight through the fence, straight through the trees, like all of it. And it was the craziest accident we'd had on the property so far. Now that's lightweight compared to what happens these days. But I just remember being like, wow, that is the coolest shot I ever got. But do you remember how unreliable the SD cards are on GoPro Hero 8s?
Oh, bad. Yeah.
Corrupt footage. I have me taking off right before it hits the fence, corrupt footage. And then after it, I have panning around the scene of the accident.
What the devil?
So the good people that follow our channel never got to see that. I was the only one.
That's a shame.
That's a shame.
I know.
That's happened to other footage too.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
lost a lot of footage that way.
And it's always like these really cool, irreplaceable moments.
Like one of one,
Yeah.
didn't have a GoPro on anything else, and it's just the one you need.
Well, even the regular camera, because Steven and I were filming at this last Gambler 500. It's like a off-road thing where you take a really bad car 500 miles off-road. And it was just a beautiful night, beautiful sunset. We met this fan of the show who was, he did elevator maintenance.
Yeah. What was that guy's name? I'm trying to remember.
Man, cool guy. And is one of those things that you say in the moment. We just happened to be filming, and Steven does this classy thing. If you guys ever see us and we're filming you, you might not even know. He holds the strap kind of down and the screen kind of out, and he kind of looks down. So he's filming you, but you don't know, which is good because
then you don't pretend that you're being
Let's
filmed.
say we're used to being on camera. Like you point the camera at Will, like he's not going to act any different. Like he just, at this point, he just is who he is on camera, off camera. But regular people who aren't used to being filmed with like big cameras with microphones and stuff.
Yeah, they get weird and they get kind of awkward.
Yeah.
That's how I film cops. That's how I film in the DMV.
Yeah. So all those shots you see that are kind of like fly on the wall and like regular people are being regular, even though they're being filmed, that's from Steven's technique. So Steven was techniquing this guy, and he was just saying about how like these are like the inspiring moments in life, and like what makes life worth living is just like going out and having fun with your friends and building weird cars, and kind of the ethos that we all share. Like, you know, let's just go on some really dangerous, weird adventure and have a good time, you know? And that's like, I don't know, it's just it's one of those things that's hard to put into words, but I think a lot of people feel this way. And this guy just said it the best way you could possibly say it. The only clip that was corroded for the entire 3-4 day trip was that clip.
Oh, no, I didn't even know that. That sucks.
Because our microphone was having issues. That's why
we no longer have that microphone. Ethan took some rage out on it.
Yeah.
I still find pieces of that microphone like stuck in my tires sometimes.
Yeah, don't buy the Sennheiser on-camera mic. I forget the exact
That has
name.
ruined so many shots. That's ridiculous.
because the camera has audio levels, and you'll see like when it's recording, and then it just isn't all of a sudden.
Yeah. I want to touch back on this thing that Will said. You said the red light, green light prepares you for evading authorities.
Yeah.
I was actually wondering this because your stories of evading the authorities start so young. Was like the first time you drove, you were already a speedy boy, or did you like slowly realize that you could get away with things until you couldn't anymore?
No, the first time that I became a speedy boy is when I got my first manual car. I was doing audio work for this really nice old lady.
So you had a car before this and weren't a speedy boy.
Yeah, like I drove fast, but like not over the speed limit. Like I drove the top level of NPC fast, like normal, maybe cut off some people every once in a while, leadle around, get stuck somewhere.
What's like NPC level, like 15 over?
Yeah. So like not
120.
when you get in the seat in the morning, you're like, am I really in Gran Turismo right now? Like, you know, like that level, like when you get in and you feel
so
the
like
shifter in your hand.
GTA NPCs, not Forza
just like
Horizon
normal
NPCs.
speed. Like you make like a normal mistake.
Nope. You got to get a little closer, man. Why did you do that? Will's ice cream coning the mic over here.
Yeah,
All
okay.
right.
Well, I'm back.
All
But
right.
I did something you would have been proud of the other day, Will.
what did you do?
I was behind this very grandma car, and I couldn't handle it anymore. So I passed her on the shoulder on the on-ramp because I was like, I am not about to be stuck behind this lady for like...
You need to implement. This man was racing me this morning, man.
He won, though. I didn't think you were going to make it in front of that UPS truck.
I have a turbocharger on my car.
So you go MPC speeds.
Before,
you
when
get
I'm
this
15.
manual.
When I'm
So you've
15.
never been arrested or anything when you were 15?
Nope, because I had like a Jeep. And then I jumped the Jeep over a bridge.
So you just didn't have a car fast enough to be a speedy boy.
Yeah, not yet. And then I got this what was actually really nice Honda Accord when I first got it. I was doing audio work for this old lady that works for NPR. And we were like doing audio work about the Indian reservation. It was very like nice work for a 15-year-old. I just got to sit at coffee shops and tune the audio. And then one day she just offered me.
Did you know what you were doing? You know how to equalize and master audio?
Yeah, because I used to like edit short videos and movies when I was in high school.
I learn more about you every single day, man. So you know like what an equalizer, a compressor, a limiter, maximizer.
Yeah, I used to do that all the time when I was like, my friends and I would make like funny songs and movies.
Did you know that, Steven?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's
so
news.
I did that, and I was recovering audio from like Indian reservation speeches and stuff. And one day she was like, I have this premium car. And at the time I had just like launched my Jeep off the bridge. And so I didn't have a car. I was like, I don't even know what I used to do back then. Teleport everywhere. Like I don't know. I don't remember that time of my life without a vehicle, because whenever I don't have my wheels underneath me, I just feel really not good.
You are a different person. Like right now, you don't have a motorcycle or a Speedy Boy car.
Yeah.
And you're like 10% sadder the day to day.
Yep. Yeah, I need my car. So anyway, she was like, I have this Honda Accord and I'm looking to upgrade. And I was like, oh, premium. How much you want? She was like, $200, but it's a manual. And at that time, I didn't know what a manual even was. Like, there was no manual cars in my life, so I'd never driven one before.
What about video games? Did you play like Forza
yeah, but like
manual?
I never like really thought. I thought like old trucks and things had manuals. I didn't really like think like
something as premium as a Honda Accord for
a
$200.
Honda Accord, dude. So it was like sun bleached Honda Accord, and she taught me how to drive manual like for like 10 minutes, and then she was like, "Okay, I got a scram," and I was like, "Okay," and she just left me like on this side street with this car.
Did you give her the money like it was your car?
Yeah, it was my car at that point, but I still didn't know how to drive manual. Like she like rode with me in the car. Her dad was a NASCAR driver, and so she like taught me really how to drive manual. She was like, people break their gearboxes all the time for like shifting like this, and she taught me like all these tricks on how to like drive manual really well.
So she showed you how to like quick shift and rev shift.
She showed me how to like rev shift, down shift, shift without the clutch. Like she taught me like too much. And I was like, oh no. And then she just left me on this side
her
street.
Dad? Is he a famous NASCAR driver?
He's just like, he drove NASCAR. That's... And she like told me all about cars and stuff. I was like, oh, what the heck? Like this person.
How old were you then?
I was like 15.
Oh, okay.
And I had my license, like, I was probably almost 16. And so I'm just like on the side street with this Honda Accord, don't know how to drive manual. And I just creep down, like stalling the car every once in a while, like, and then I just went on the highway and drove all the way to Spokane and just learned the ropes of the manual. And ever since that day, I turned that car into a race car. I spray painted it black, took the interior out, put on eBay, like, this is when I was 16, so I didn't have a lot of money, and I bought, like, the cheapest eBay steering wheel ever that, like, didn't have metal in the steering wheel.
We all know the one.
You know that steering wheel, man.
Yeah.
It's bad. Like, it will, like, break. Like,
yeah, it's very flexible.
you can, like, rip it. Like, it's worse than that, for sure.
It's like the one in Steven's car. He's in the Power Wheels that we
Yeah,
turned
it was
into
like
the sleeper.
that. But race edition for a real car. And it didn't fit my like splines. So I just jammed it on. I drilled it out a little bit, jammed it on the splines, and then used one of my sister's hair ties to like space it out enough.
Oh my gosh.
So nothing has changed.
No,
You said
not
there
at
was
all.
a moment where you weren't a Speedy boy and then you became a Speedy boy.
Yeah, and getting that Honda Accord really put me into the scene of speed racing because once I got that car, I realized anything's possible with a manual transmission. Like, you can have the worst car ever and still have fun. Like, I jumped that over meridians on highways, popped tires, drifted, reverse, down streets.
Did you know I had a Speedy boy phase?
Really?
Yeah. I had a street racer phase, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you go to jail over it?
No.
Oh,
No, I sure did not.
that's unfortunate.
His phase ended before he got in trouble. What? I think that's the sound of the leaves falling. What did you think you heard?
That sounded like footsteps.
I
And
know, I
It
thought
is
someone-
Friday
It is
the
Friday the 13th, which concerned me when I found that out.
Yeah. So the best racing video game ever, the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit,
Oh,
the
that's a
original?
good one.
where the cops chase you and you're all Speedy boys and it's all underground. So my friend and I were really into that, and we worked at the same restaurant, and he had a Subaru.
Of course. What
Yeah,
kind?
it
Like
was
a
a
WRX?
Forester.
Oh.
And I had just my truck, but it was a 6-speed.
Yep.
And so I had my truck, and the thing is he was timing himself getting up to my house. So he lived about a quarter mile straight of pavement, straight to a gravel corner, and then up a gravel corner for probably 3 miles to where I lived. And this is a sketchy gravel road with potholes and everything. He was like, I made it here in 2 minutes. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I bet I could go a lot faster, but on my dirt bike. And I'd just gotten my first 250, which was quite the upgrade from the YZ85. And so I went Speedy boy to his house, and I made it there, and I was like, I bet I could do it under a minute. I kept getting lower, lower, lower. I got there under a minute, and I was like, I did it under a minute. He's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah? I'm like, let's race. So we went to race. We dropped clutch in front of his house this quarter mile right before the gravel road. He really got me in the beginning, which was so embarrassing because that was my advantage on the dirt bike, was the initial launch.
Yeah.
And so I just really messed up I think I just burned out for a while, and he really gapped me. So I held it down. I get to the top of 5th, right past him, when it turns into gravel. And I was like, oh no, I need to turn now.
Oh no.
So I was going 70, flew off the bike, miraculously went right over this stump that would have broken me in half, and I landed in a curve between a bunch of trees without hitting any trees. So he turned around, and I was just so adrenaline brained, I wasn't speaking coherently. So he's like, are you okay? And I threw one hand up, and I was like, rubber duck man.
That's what you yelled?
Yeah.
Of course you yelled that.
And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, blue rubber ducks. And he was like, because I was trying to say I'm okay, but I had so much adrenaline, I just couldn't think straight. And
Blue rubber ducks?
He thought I hit my head, and he was really concerned. And he was like, I think we need to stop racing all the time, because we were doing this all the time, and this was the first big accident. And I was like, I think we just need to stick to only racing in our cars.
Yeah.
And so then on the way from, very rare you see a cop. Our town is 450 people. So from where we worked to his house is where we would race.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Sandpoint. I was like,
no,
they
so
got that
many
place
cops at Sandpoint.
packed.
Clark Fork, when I was a kid, you would never even believe if you saw a cop. You'd call the cops because something bad was happening, and they just wouldn't come.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's tiny.
Yeah, very tiny. So we were Speedy boys, but luckily neither of our cars went over 120. So that's kind of where we kept it, in the 120 range.
Nice.
But still, we'd be passing each other. We'd both be kind of going 120-ish. And then it was It's pretty cool that we never like died or got hurt.
Yeah.
or
It is
arrested
pretty
or
cool that you
anything.
never died. That's good.
Because we were out there for sure. Like we
Yeah.
were outside doing it.
Yep.
But yeah, then there was a time where we just got way too competitive. We always stopped speeding by the time we got into our little town. And then
Smart.
there was a time where I took the shortest route, but he was going really fast, just blasting through all the stop signs in our town to get to his house first. He pulled over right in front of me, but I wasn't going to yield to him. So I stayed on the throttle and he stayed on the throttle.
Oh.
And crashed. And it was very responsible. This is the first time that I realized that Rem was a lot more responsible than me. He said, we're both too competitive for this. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, neither of us let off and we could have crashed. I was like, well, yeah, but that's what racing is. Because I only thought from video games, if you crash, you just restart.
Yeah.
He was like, no, I think that we're too competitive to race and we shouldn't race anymore. And we never raced again.
What the devil?
I got competitive in different ways. I remember seeing how far I could swim underwater once, and my cousin kept just barely beating me, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to get him this time.
That sounds sketchier
And I
than
surely-
street racing.
Yeah, that
I
does.
surely did beat him, but I passed out underwater, and they pulled me out. It was really funny.
How long could you go on your prime?
We didn't measure it in like feet. It was like laps underwater in this pool.
Oh, so you were exercise breath holding.
Yeah. It was very funny.
Most people who do breath holding competitions just kind of lay there, right?
Oh, no, we were seeing who could swim furthest underwater. So I did like 3 or 4 laps back and forth in the pool. And I remember like reaching the end of it and then being like on the outside of the pool, like waking up like, did I win?
Did you get like tunnel vision? And
Oh,
then,
yeah,
like,
it was very crazy. It's just like how you expect drowning to be. Like you kind of like it gets dark and
Did you think you were just gone? Who got you out of the water?
I was a kid, so probably my mom or my aunt or something.
Oh,
I think my cousins were all just freaking out, but I don't remember
Wow,
it. So.
Steven's really making the laps in the pool.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to play that game anymore.
but you never were a Speedy boy? Because you had actually a cool car.
I did for a while.
You had a manual
cool.
MR2.
No, it wasn't an MR2. I wish. If it was an MR2, I wouldn't have sold it.
Oh, it was a Corolla?
I had the Corolla GTS, but it's not the AE86 one. It's just the front wheel drive.
Front-wheel drive.
But it was still cool. It was actually a quick car for what it was.
But you never Speedy boyed it?
A little bit, but not that much. I was pretty responsible actually with that car.
Wow.
But then
Don't
I
call
sold it
them
for
responsibles.
$800, and you can't find one now because I really want one of those again. It's a fun little car. Feels like driving around like a little cheese box.
That's the dream.
That's a real fun car right
Driving
there,
around a
man.
little
Yeah.
cheese box.
Driving around
Well, like the
little
modern
cheese
cars
box.
are way faster, but you feel so safe. Like
Yeah, they do feel too safe.
it's just like my grandpa told me because he drives like old janky Hondas all the time. He can afford like nice cars, but he's like, oh, I don't want to feel that safe. He's like, I want to feel the rattles when you go around the corners. And
Yeah. I'm with your grandpa, man, because Will just posted on his story like a bunch of sad boy BMWs at a wedding, and they all had wings and they were lowered and their wheels were sticking out. And that's what I used to drive. And now that I just drive the Mad Max Tesla, which is pretty
Very
jank.
safe.
It's pretty jank.
It's
All
pretty
those
jank.
safety features are turned off. It doesn't have stability control, traction control. The seat belt thing, when I turn on the car, says front left restraint fault, which is my seat
So
belt.
unlock it will just let you.
I don't know what it means.
Let me
but the
tell
Tesla
you,
tells me that.
hitting the steering wheel is much better than an airbag. So
what?
let me
How
just
can
tell
that
you
be
that.
true?
Hitting an airbag feels like you fell out of an airplane and like smacked your face on the ground. It's terrible. But hitting a steering wheel, that steering wheel has enough flex where like you just bend it with your face. Like
That sounds both bad.
if it was slow motion, you'd be.
I've still never been in a car and the airbag's gone off.
Neither have I.
It's scary. It smells like everything's on fire. It's like
When did you get? None of your cars have airbags.
my Jeep had an airbag, and when it went off, it hit me so hard in the face, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Well, you weren't wearing a seatbelt either, right?
I don't know. I mean, I probably wasn't if I was outside the car.
I don't think you were, because I think the whole point is your seatbelt's supposed to slowly slow you down, and then the airbag slowly slows you down in the opposite direction, so you ease
Yeah.
into a complete stop.
Probably.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
If you're not wearing your seatbelt, I imagine you just hit the airbag really hard.
That's maximum force.
And did that throw you out of the car? How did you end up out of the
I
car?
don't know. I just woke up out of the car in a body bag.
I forgot about that. Oh man.
Oh, man.
But yeah,
Good times.
I just miss like when I go into a parking lot thinking about, okay, how am I going to get out of this parking lot without high centering on a speed bump?
Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot. I guess I had like a couple phases of being a speedy boy.
Yeah, you were a Beamer boy for
But
a
you
while.
weren't. That's not Speedy Boy, man.
Yeah,
we
'cause
all
we-
know BMWs are really slow and unreliable, but
Yeah.
they're low, and that's called being a Beamer boy.
You were listening to a lot of like Lil Peep and
Yeah.
that was a whole phase.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I guess I pretty much drifted to work every day the first like 2 years of Grind Hard. I went through so many tires. It's crazy because when you have camber like that and you drift every day,
They're
your
gone.
tires last like 2 months if you're lucky.
That's why I never got into the drift life.
It's expensive for sure.
Very
and you
expensive.
break everything.
Yep.
Every time I brought my Beamer to a drift event, it was like, okay, I just don't have a car for 3 months now. Got to fix the brake lines and the power steering, and there's an overheating issue.
Oh,
I think your wife was really happy when you sold that car.
Yeah. She made me sell it. One time we went to the gym and someone came running into the gym like, whoever has the convertible silver BMW, your car's on fire. And I thought
Wait,
for
what?
sure that was very likely that my car was on fire. So I ran out there and the whole like parking lot was full of smoke and it was like backlit, you know, that afternoon sun.
Yeah.
Just highlights the smoke coming out of your car. And I was like, oh no, it's just like that. She was like, should I call the fire department? I was like, no, it just drips oil onto the headers. It's fine.
I remember too, you showed up with your wife one time and I looked in the car and there's all this cardboard down. You're like, oh, that's to help the exhaust from leaking right onto her.
Yeah, the exhaust leak was right under the passenger foot area.
Oh, so
And
it just
one
blasted
time-
up.
One time she fell asleep and the bottom of her feet were burned through the cardboard and she was wearing shoes and socks.
Oh,
And her
dang.
bottom of her feet were burned.
Oh my
The bottom of
gosh.
my car was so hot. Because if you think about it, you couldn't stick a foot under my car. It was so low.
Yeah.
And the exhaust leak was there.
So it was just
without anywhere
heating
to
up
go.
underneath like an oven.
Yeah.
So the longer you drove, the hotter it got.
And I thought she was bluffing. And so I like took off a shoe and put it on and my foot almost became a permanent part of that car. Yeah. But I
Oh
sold it to
my
someone who was going
gosh.
to autocross it in Montana. So the dream lives on.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah. But now I'm thinking I should get another one
Mm-hmm.
without an exhaust leak.
That could be a solution.
Yeah. But I'll bag it so I can lift it up for the winter.
That's a good idea. And the
That's
speed
how my
bumps.
first and only BMW caught on fire. I had a BMW on banks and it just caught on fire one day. I was like, what the devil?
What caught on fire?
It shorted out. Someone like did this like they always are doing these cool things, like making the inside of their car look like piano or something. Like
What?
they like add wood to things that shouldn't have wood on them. Like that's
It
like
had
what
like real
BMW
wood in your car?
Yeah, that's what BMW boys do. It's called the executive style. And so my BMW was layered with executive style. It had like wood everywhere.
Do you have pictures of any of this stuff?
Yeah,
It was
I do.
the most jank
It
car
was
I've ever
very
seen in
jank.
my
It used to be a
entire
show
life.
car, and then it went through two owners in Idaho, and it turned into like an off-road show car. So it had like air ride and 3-piece wheels and like this custom paint job.
You
But
wouldn't
it was
believe
like,
the sound of it coming down the driveway.
yeah, gung, gung, gung.
Where was I for this?
It was a short period of time. I owned it for like 2 months. I traded like a broken down Subaru and like something else for it. And like I traded the broken down WRX and like they gave me like $5,000 cash and then the BMW. And then I got the BMW and I was like, oh, this will be a great, reliable car. And it wasn't because it had wood in it, like all in it. Everywhere.
Executive stuff.
It was executively styled. And one day I was driving down the road and one of the grommets popped off of the like power wire to the air compressor and shorted under the wood to the metal of the car. and caught a little fire on like the residual oil that was down there for some reason.
Well, because it was a
It
BMW.
started a
doesn't
little
need
fire,
reason.
and I actually have a video. My entire trunk was on fire, like getting fueled by the executive style. And I was like, oh! And my airbags lowered down slowly like this.
Oh, because they melted?
And I was like, oh! And then it started scraping the transmission on the ground. Like,
Well, you're still driving even
yeah,
after
on the
it was
highway
fire?
at maximum speed, on fire, airing down like, gee. And then I just like pulled over, opened the trunk, and realized my executive style was on fire. And I was like, oh no. And that was like, yeah, I put it back together with a Harbor Freight air compressor. I painted the Harbor Freight air compressor, and then I just ran like normal sink tubes to the like thing that makes it go up and down. And then I sold it to someone else because I didn't want to deal with it anymore.
How'd you get the fire out?
I just took all the shirts that I had in the middle seat and just put them on the fire because it's an oil fire, and that's what you do with oil fire. You just smudge it out. I've had lots of oil fires, so you just want to smudge them out. I carry lots of old clothes in my Subarus because if they ever catch on fire, just throw some like shirts and stuff on there and it will go out.
We're getting life advice from Will today.
The kind of stories Will tells, isn't it kind of like you meet like a waxer in like a dive bar who's just like crusty man that just lived 10 lives, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Those are the kind of stories that Will tells, but he's like a 21-year-old Speedy boy. And he has crusty old waxer stories, like a million of them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you live, that's the thing is when I used to stay up, I've already lived till I'm 44, if you think about it.
Oh, because you didn't sleep for so many years?
Yeah, I've lived till 44, and I'm only 22. Pretty amazing.
The math
right?
doesn't quite match.
Did you graduate high school?
No, I left high school and got GED.
At what age?
When I was 17, I think.
Oh. Because I was thinking maybe if you like left school and you were like 15, you had like 4 more years of being an adult, air quotes.
Well, I mean, I feel like I've lived like so many lifetimes because then right when I left high school, I just moved to Seattle. And then I lived in Seattle by myself with an old man for like a long time.
What? Just a random old man?
Yeah.
What
I
the
lived
heck?
in a mansion in Seattle
A mansion?
with an old man. And that's how I got into like cars even more.
How
I
did
just
this
turned his
happen?
garage. I turned his like pimp garage into just car town.
How did you meet this man?
I met him on Facebook.
Wait, start
And I
from the
lived with him.
beginning. You're in Sandpoint, a small town in North Idaho, half an hour away from the Canadian border,
Yeah.
with like 4,000 people in the entire local region.
Yep.
And you just decide, what? You got a job there, or
Well, when
just
I was
trolling
15, I
Facebook?
decided I was like, man, I want to move
Make sure
to
you
Seattle.
talk into the microphone.
When I was 15, I decided, man, I want to move to Seattle. That would be pretty premium, you know. It'd be
Why?
cool to
What
live
made
in a
you? What
city.
inspired you?
Because I had lived in Seattle as a small child, and I've always loved the rain. You know, when it's raining, you just get more motivated.
Yeah, it's like cleanses the air and it sounds nice.
Yeah, and like I was into like photography, and I'd done the drone business, and then I had the robotics business. So I had like enough money to move to Seattle, and I was like, why should I live with my parents in this little town? I want to live in a big city and race street bikes around. So
Yeah, logically.
I found an old man in Seattle and rented out a room in his big house for like $1,000, I think. It was like $1,000 for my room. And we had like people who cleaned the house and stuff. I didn't have to do anything, so it was pretty nice.
That's why you don't know how to do laundry.
Yeah, like
That makes
people like
sense.
cleaned the house and did all this stuff, and I just kind of took over the garage and turned it into a mechanic's warehouse. Bought a whole bunch of random cars. Yeah, that was a weird time in my life. But I have like a whole bunch of weird small times in my life. I joined like this little biker gang in Seattle. It was premium. I was like just turning 18, like speeding down the highway with all these like criminals.
You basically have lived
amazing.
like a video game character.
Yeah.
You're not an NPC.
So
Will.
my idea of real life is just kind of skewed a little bit because since I was 15, it's just kind of like been not real life. And I don't plan on going back to a normal life ever. So I
That
think
makes
I'm going to
sense.
stay Will for the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
I don't think any of us had a very normal life.
And that's why we work so
No.
well together. Can you imagine if some bougie dude in like skinny jeans and designer shoes came in here and was like, so we get like, we just do our job and do normal things. And Ethan's like, actually, I need you to lift this 800-pound chopper and bring it over here. You'd be like, whoa.
I don't think a normal person
No,
would fit in.
it wouldn't work
Yeah.
at all.
But I'm still curious how you got into this guy's mansion. Like, did he shake your hand when you paid your rent covered in grease? And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to let this greasy, obnoxious child into my nice house in Seattle.
Yeah, it was pimp. Like, it was like the pimp house in the area. And I think it was like 5-6 bedrooms, like a big house in Seattle.
So you saw it on Facebook, just he was
No, I
renting out
didn't
the
see
room?
it on Facebook. I did not. That was not a listing. It was not an option to live in this man's house. That's the weirdest thing.
That's what we
Yeah,
want to
but
know,
what's the-
Will.
yeah.
How did you get to living in this man's
So
house?
I told my mom, I was like, I'm going to just move to Seattle.
Uh-huh.
I'm like 17. I have no credit at that time. I have like no renter's history. I have none of this stuff. I have money, but I don't have anything to like prove. It's very hard to get like applied to a place to live nowadays, or
Yeah,
even
well,
back
especially
then.
when you're young with no history.
Yeah, they're like, this dude's not going to pay the rent. Even if you're like, oh, look at this cash I have.
If you had the
They're like-
best rental history ever and you showed up at my unit that I was renting, I would be like, this man isn't going to pay his rent.
Yeah.
Even now. So I can't imagine
Yeah.
how you got into this man's mansion.
So my mom, she took it upon herself. She was like, well, she like joined all these groups and stuff of like houses you can rent and stuff. And randomly, not in one of these groups, someone's friend of a friend told a friend that knew this man
Okay.
that this random kid wanted to move to Seattle. And this man just let me live in his house, like, and pay rent to him. It was a very weird situation.
Did he kick you out when you were showing up with half torn apart Miatas in his nice
No.
garage?
No, he liked the Miatas and stuff. He was a very weird dude.
What
I
do
don't
you
know what to
mean?
tell you about him, man. He was just really weird. He had all these like weird old stories like old people do, you know, like they've lived a whole life. And so he was a stud back in the day. He used to traffic cocaine from his dad's like bar in Florida, like down the coast to these other places. And I think that might be how he got the house in the first place. So he'd like tell me all these stories about these people in like other countries that he didn't want to talk to or be found out about. And he was just like this weird dude. And I had a weird roommate that was friends of a mom that was living there like next to me. And so we kind of became friends, but not really. And then he tried to shoot me.
What? That's what I mean, dude. You have these stories. It's like a crusty old man,
Yeah.
but you're so young.
Yeah. I just feel like I've lived 42 years of my life, not 22. So
Tried to shoot you.
my roommate, you haven't heard the I almost got shot story?
I've heard this story.
Yeah.
No.
What the
How
devil?
have you not heard me this story?
What the devil? Okay. So, yeah, my roommate almost shot me because at the time I had a girlfriend that wasn't doing something that he wanted her to do, like clean the dishes or something, but she was just there on like coming to visit me. So he like was really upset that she wasn't doing the dishes. I was like, I was at work and I didn't really know the situation. And he's texting me that he's really mad and she's texting me that she's really mad. And I'm like, what the heck? So I just like, I'll figure it out when we get home. Like, I'm sure we can all talk about it. And like, I'll do the dishes if you guys don't want to do the dishes, because I don't mind.
I thought you had a person that cleaned your house.
We did, but she only came like once or twice a week. And so with like a couple people in the house, you still have to do dishes every once in a while.
And this man was very unused to doing the dishes, obviously.
He'd never done the dishes before, but he was like really upset. He got in these weird moods. He was very ADHD. And he got in these weird moods where he would be like very particular about things being clean. And then sometimes he would just like leave dishes all over the house. And it was a big problem. So I don't know why he was so upset about the dishes being in the sink just unwashed, but he got really upset about it. And he's like super angry. He drives this like weird little like pea looking car. It was a manual, and he spray painted the rear hatch. It was a Hyundai P. I don't know. Like, that's what it should have been called. It was really jank.
What the heck?
But
he threatened to shoot you over the dishes?
So no. So they're arguing about the dishes. I'm at work and I come home and he's not there. And I'm like, what the devil? Where is this man? Like, he seemed really angry. I just want to talk to him. And so I'm doing the dishes, and then I just go to sit down on the couch, and all of a sudden I hear, I'm gonna kill a fool, like gangster music coming up the street, like really loud. And I'm like, what the devil is this? Because we live on like a premium road in Seattle. Like, you don't hear that stuff very often. And I step out on the porch, and he like getting out of his car, and his like pants are all low and stuff. He like turned into like a full gangster in like the span of a couple hours.
But
and
he
I was
never
like,
acted like that before?
no.
Oh, man.
He like gangstered up like right away, man. Like, I swear he like tinted his taillights just for this situation. He like showed up. He's like bouncing some tunes. He gets out of the car all mad, and I'm like, yo, like, what's up? Like, sorry the dishes weren't done. I did them. Like, I don't see the problem. Like, can we just get over this? Because you're my roommate, and I'm sorry you're upset. And he's like, I'm going to teach you what real life's all about. And he pulls out a gun and aims it right at my face.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, what the devil? And I was just not thinking. So I just went straight for his nose like I always do. I've had a couple situations like this. And
Straight for
we
his
like
nose.
started scrambling on the ground.
Wait,
and
so
like,
he pointed a gun at you and you just punched him?
I just
in the
punched him
nose?
right in the face. And he like went down for a second. He was like, what the devil, man? And I was like, what the devil are you doing, dude? You're pointing a gun at me. Like, and he's like scrambling. And then there was a point where like he got on top of me and was like choking me, and like seriously thought I was going to die in that situation for a second, but managed to kick him down the staircase, all the way down the staircase. And then the police showed up, and he was not my roommate any longer.
So the owner of the mansion kicked him out after he heard the story?
No, the police just wouldn't let us be in the same area together anymore.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So he got in trouble.
I think that restraining order just ended like this year, actually.
Oh, really?
On that man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're watching the podcast, please don't come to Idaho. I really don't want to be yoinked in the head.
Is that the only time you've almost been shot besides getting pulled out of your car by the police?
Well, yeah, I got pulled out of my car by the police. I don't think they would have shot me,
Yeah,
but
I don't think they would.
they had guns on me. And then,
Yeah.
my roommate,
Oh.
that
So bullets were never actually fired in your direction.
I've never been shot at. I've only been implied that I will be executed, but never
You're
actually.
a lightweight, man.
Yep.
I've been shot at.
Oh,
twice.
no. How? Tell me the story.
Have you been shot at, Steve-O?
I haven't been shot at, but I've had guns pulled on me. I've had knives pulled on me.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Who would pull a gun on you? You're the nicest person I know.
Well, I was trespassing, but I was also like 17 and I was with a bunch of other like kids and I literally just yelled, I'm like, you gonna shoot some kids? And the guy's like, well, just get off my property. But one time a homeless guy pulled a knife on me and my initial reaction, like this is broad daylight, downtown Coeur d'Alene, which is pretty
Downtown
nice
Coeur d'Alene.
town. Yeah,
Super
exactly.
nice.
What
it
the
doesn't-
heck?
yeah, it seems like a Spokane or like Seattle kind of story. But yeah, this homeless guy just came up and he said something like, oh, those are nice shoes, and just pulls out this knife. And my initial thought, like, I just laughed. I literally just laughed at him. I'm like, you're not going to stab me. And I just shoved him into the street. But apparently the friend that was with me was like actually kind of terrified.
I would have gave him my shoes.
Oh, they were Faywees. I liked them.
Fayleys,
$30
shoes, man.
But it was a small knife. And I,
A small knife.
well, I was also like, he's not going to actually take my shoes downtown Coeur d'Alene. Like, if he'd stabbed me, there was a coffee shop full of like people having croissants and stuff, like right across the
They
street.
could have saved you. They could have patched you up. I've heard croissants are very spongent.
You've heard they're very spongy?
Yeah.
Very absorbent.
Yeah.
Wow. No, my first time getting shot at was, we'll see, because in Clark Fork, like everyone just shoots at people. I don't know. It's
Shoots
like
at
very
them or like
much-
shoots around them in the area. Like
It's like the Wild
intentionally.
West. Yeah.
Clark Fork
intentionally.
is like the last stronghold of the Wild West.
It is
Yeah.
weird in
It
Clark
really
Fork.
is,
That's
yeah.
a weird little town that we might get
It's
into
so
one day.
close to Montana. All of Montana is kind of like that. If you want to get shot at, go trespassing in Montana for sure.
There's some weird little towns in Montana.
But Clark Fork is, I mean, it's really nice from the outside, but you start going up in the hills and like things get kind of sketchy. But Rem and I, my street racing buddy, all my stories are with Rem, which you wouldn't even know. He's so responsible now. But
Yeah, Will and I just did that
Rem
hike
is
with him, and he's
super
like-
responsible. You're talking about that, Rem?
yeah,
He used to street ride Subarus.
yeah.
Nice.
I wouldn't have believed that either, would you?
I
have?
wouldn't have
Yeah.
ever known.
He like has a good job and a wife and kids and very
Yeah.
responsible.
Very responsible.
If I had to like ask someone for responsible advice, he's who I would ask.
Yeah.
We used to explore this river in Clark Fork, and we just go further up, further up, further up, further up every time. We'd ride our dirt bikes to the shoreline, and then we'd swim around and like float down, and everyone was like, oh, you're going to die because it's like rapid class 3 or whatever without a life jacket. And we were just kids, and we're like, well, that's where it's fun to ride down the river,
Yeah.
obviously. And so, yeah, it's pretty much what we did for like every summer. And then we found this awesome nook that had like cliff jumping. The river kind of like pooled up there and it dug it deep enough where you could like jump pretty high off. The coolest hangout spot we ever found. Super obscure, super off the road. And so we went there all the time. And then one day we went a little too far, like right around the nook was this like cave. And we went into the cave and we were like, oh, wow, like someone's like mining here for sure. But it's like a certain closeness to the river. It's all like public property,
Yeah.
you know, but people are very serious about their mining spots.
Oh, the
in this
gold people
area.
are intense.
The gold people are very intense. So he was like pointing his gun at us and he was like, never come back here again. And this and that. And we were like, okay. And so we left, but we were like, well, that's the best spot in our whole little tiny town. We're going to go back to the play hole. So what we started doing is we'd kill our bikes and just roll down the hill in neutral. And we figured he'll hear us leaving, but we're leaving. He's not going to be able to get us on the dirt bikes. So we go down there and then he's in our play hole. He's not even mining in his little cave. He's in our play hole and he starts shooting at us. And we run up the hill and get on our dirt bikes and go.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's
But
intense.
those gold people are like that. They don't want you to know their gold spots. Like the times I've gone out for gold, I'm happy to have friends who know where to go because you stumble into the wrong area and those people get protective and you're way out in the middle of the woods.
That's
and
what's
like,
crazy, though. It's never their property. It's one thing if you're on their property.
yeah, no, they get
But
protective.
This is just public
This is just
grounds.
random public grounds.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see where the old mines are, right? And then you just go to where the old mine like runoff is, and then you can pan there.
I found gold my very first pan.
Really?
Yeah.
How much gold are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like enough to?
Oh, not enough to do much with.
Buy-
I didn't do it for very long. I got bored and cold pretty quick. It was this winter. And I didn't bring, everyone else I was with had like these big neoprene gloves and stuff. And I just was like, rolled my sleeves on my hoodie up, just dug
What
into the
the-
water.
Are these
It was
people
cold.
really even finding gold though? Or is it just like,
Oh, yeah.
I think I will someday?
Well, it's both. Because like my friends who do this, they actually have a reasonable amount of gold now. Like probably a sellable amount of gold. But we have a friend who found like a nugget, like a golf ball nugget. And I know where he found it. And I really want to go back there. And I'm not going to give this location away. Well, I will to you guys.
How much is a golf ball sized gold nugget worth?
Probably enough to make it worth finding one.
Like $1,000.
I don't know.
$6,000.
What's gold per ounce? Should we look this up?
Yeah, look
What
at
is
it.
it, like
look it up.
$1,800 an ounce or something? Also, how much would a golf
How am
ball?
I supposed to know how much gold costs? I can't afford gold.
What the heck?
I'm looking this up.
$1,800 an ounce. That's not
much is
enough
a
to do anything
nugget?
with.
A nugget
Well,
is
gold's very heavy. That's why, like when you pan, it sinks to the bottom. It's like very heavy and dense.
Okay. It's got gold money.
How much would a golf ball size gold nugget be worth?
That sounds like a good Chat GPT question. Have you ever mined for gold, Will?
No.
It seems like you'd like it.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. And if
If you
it's
could,
an
like,
ounce worth, $1,800.
Well, if you find one. I
so
mean,
let's say an ounce,
the internet's
you would
really
need,
slow here,
like,
so we'll see if it'll load.
4 ounces to buy a Subaru.
If you trade gold for a Subaru,
Yeah, that would be awesome. You trade handcrafted, found from the earth gold for a Subaru.
Gold of the earth.
okay, a standard golf ball,
Uh-huh.
if it was solid gold, according to this, would be 1.7 pounds. What's 1.7
Huh?
pounds to ounces?
Well, a pound is 16 ounces, right?
Yeah.
So it's like 17.
So that's 27.2 ounces.
Oh,
Let's look up
That's
gold
like
price.
$1 million.
it's got to be $1 million. Well, no, because
I
you
have
can
a-
buy a gold ring for like $500. Or is that just gold plated ring?
That's like gold plated ring.
That's already
can't
crafted
find
into a
current
ring.
gold
The raw
price.
material can't be worth as much as something crafted into something useful.
I think the raw material could. I don't know what they're using it for, but it's obviously very important if it weighs and costs that much money, dude.
we don't know how much it costs. That's what Steven's Googling.
Gold is
Oh.
$1,900 an ounce right now.
Well,
Costs a lot of money.
that is a Subaru.
So yeah, 1,900 times 27.
I just need an ounce to buy like a cheap Subaru, and I need 2 ounces to buy like kind of a cheap, cool Subaru.
Yeah, it'd be like $51,000.
And
But
your
that's
friend found one?
apparent. That's the word on the street. I don't know, like, because that could be exaggerated. But he found a nugget very worth it. I know that much.
Are gold mining stories kind of like
It's like fishing stories and hunting stories. Like, no, that bear wasn't 37 feet tall, man.
So his nugget might have been the size of
It
like
might have been like a
child's
marble or something. But even if you found a marble size of gold, that's still like,
10 grand.
I mean, maybe not 10 grand, but it's,
Wow.
yeah. I found like little flakes. I've never found big pieces.
I was thinking about, because like there's so much wild country around us, and a lot of you guys have probably seen it in the Grind Hard videos, but really cool mountains, lots of public land. I was thinking about like charting out like places that rivers used to be that aren't there anymore, and like looking for artifacts, because Starfield has got me so pumped.
What kind
on
of
just
artifacts are you going
like
to find
going
out there?
around and finding random stuff. Like
Like
maybe
what?
you could find some arrowheads or like
Oh.
a fossil.
Dude, or we could find those old, what's that brand of jeans that everyone's excited about?
Levi's.
Levi's. Yeah, you find the
Yeah.
old Levi's, they're like worth money and it's just like a little rag.
I just would so like to go run around the woods looking for artifacts.
Dude, there's
so
a
cool.
really big cabin that got built illegally up actually kind of near Clark Fork. And eventually the guy had to move out, but the cabin still is there. And I think there's still stuff in it. Not that many people know where it is. And I don't know where it is, but I know where to find it.
See? That's what I'm talking about.
That's what, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people leave things when they're not valuable, like old ripped up Levi's, and now they're worth like a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh, have you guys ever been? Has Ethan taken you to the really creepy place in the woods over there?
What the devil?
What
Like
the
right
devil is
next to
going
us
on,
right
man?
now?
No, like
What do
the-
you mean?
You're
the
gonna
one
talk
with-
about this on Friday the 13th?
We could walk there after this. Well, actually, we should probably
Not
do that.
on the
We'll-
13th, man. I'm
No,
not
we
going
want
into
Ethan,
those
but no,
woods.
it's creepy. I don't know if I still have the picture, but you can like look in the windows of this old shack, and there's like dried mushrooms in jars. and
Oh,
there's, like, half an
yeah.
inch of like rat crap everywhere.
So
and
it's
there's
like
still
a
beds.
Skyrim alchemy situation.
It looked creepy. I didn't want to go in.
It
there.
looks like a witch house.
You've seen that house, haven't you?
Yeah, there's
It
mushrooms.
does. It looks like a witch's lair.
in jars.
And didn't Colt used to live there on that property?
Ethan would
Yeah.
know that story
No,
better.
Ethan said we were like going down by
There's
the
like
water.
a communal area where the cult
Yeah.
like got together over
Oh
there.
yeah, and then
Like,
there was like
right
helicopters
there.
coming in and like arrested people or something. Weren't you
Yeah.
a kid when that happened?
Yeah.
And you lived up here, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was way longer ago
No.
than that.
Well, I don't know about that cult place, but the helicopter movement was a big movement when I lived up here. The helicopter movement was they were like taking people who were building marijuana in the woods with Apache helicopters. They were taking them in like the middle of the night, man. Like Apache helicopter just comes through the woods, through the bushes, gets you, and you're gone. Like their
Like they
Apache
were
helicopter
raiding?
flew so close to my parents' house that I was watching TV or playing PlayStation or something, and I like got vibrated on the floor. Like I was like, whoa, and I looked outside and this black helicopter with like people hanging out the doors, like getting ready to
Really?
snatch people.
Yeah, so they were raiding this little tiny nook in the woods.
yeah,
for
like
farmers?
all the time. Like they were showing up at people's doorsteps, like in Apache helicopters, like, hello.
And they were just growers. That's it.
Like there's a story of some man that had a plant on his porch, and they showed up in the Apache helicopter and like, you're coming with us now. And he was like,
Really?
no.
Have you not been in that old grow room that's over there?
There's a
It's
underground
creepy. Yeah, it's
room.
it's like under these logs, and it's probably what is it like? 10
Oh
years
my
old?
gosh, you haven't been in the
We
room?
should take Edwin in the room. That place is very.
I want to
frightening.
take Edwin to the
We've been
room.
right across from this. The
Dude,
whole
there is
time.
an underground room in the woods.
We should not go on Friday the 13th.
Can we
though.
This
please
sounds
go in the
so
underground room
creepy. This is
today?
how every scary movie starts. A bunch of guys are like, "Oh yeah, let me show you this creepy thing on Friday the 13th," and then everyone dies.
Yeah, well, we're showing you.
I'm a scaredy cat.
once
You
we're
can't talk
once
me
we're done with
into
the
that.
podcast, we're going to the underground room.
Well, I'll bring the camera because the cameraman never dies.
yeah.
Whoa, that's true. I'll bring a camera too, and then I won't.
And
die
Will's just
either.
already somehow invincible. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be.
We could bring the
fine.
Shrek mask. Imagine the Shrek B-rolls we could get.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, the room. Yeah, that's amazing.
I can't believe Edwin didn't know about that.
Yeah, everyone doesn't know about a lot of things.
Yeah, I just am oblivious.
Ethan
to
tells
all
me
these-
stories about things around here all the time. And when I was staying up here alone and I was sleeping in the loft, something was walking around Ethan's house and I thought it was the dogs. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, Fredo, Bjorn. And then I realized Ethan had the dogs. So what was walking under me? It wasn't a mouse. It was big, like Bigfoot.
Was it Asa?
No. At 1 o'clock in the morning,
Oh, that
Yeah,
is
Asa's
when
in
weird
bed by
things
about
happen.
9
I
p.m.
woke up and I was like, "What is
Yeah.
that?" And I just hear
Wow.
underneath the thing.
Dude.
And then I was like, "Oh, it's the dogs," and I fell back asleep.
Well, that's the thing about this property. If Ethan and the dogs are here, it's fine. But if
When they
they're
go?
not here, like even like Will and I stayed the night like during the 24-hour challenge and things like that. And it's like if Ethan and the dogs aren't here, it's just weird. And then I think it's because the first time I ever came to Ethan's story, he's the most like aliens do not exist person you'll ever meet. Like ghosts aren't real. All
He has
of
an
it.
explanation for everything.
Yeah.
Even if like that table floated up and floated to the other side of the room, Ethan would be like, "Well, due to the heat in the air,
Yeah.
the table will just float sometimes.
Well, and he's right too, because like he just like knows like a lot of
he knows, but
physics
there's
and
things in
stuff.
this world that are unexplainable.
Yeah, and he saw one when he was a kid. We'll let him do that on the podcast. But there's like this big beam of light here when he was a kid that.
And
like,
he's so logical that he forgot about it. Because I was like, Ethan, didn't you tell me a story about this like beam of light in the woods once? And he was like, no. And then he's like, oh yeah, that did happen when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And he was dead serious.
Yeah, but he told me that the first time I came here. And I'm a scaredy cat. I do not watch scary movies. I don't even like dark movies. Like I can't even watch Breaking Bad.
Oh.
And then like Ethan's telling me about light beams.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like Ethan's such a serious guy that when he told me that story, I was like, he had no explanation for it, and it just made me wonder. I was like,
yeah,
that's interesting.
I mean, but maybe it was a spotlight from an Apache helicopter if they were doing raids next door.
No, Ethan's too logical.
would
Even as a
hear.
child, he would have known it was a
he would
helicopter.
have known that it was a helicopter, and he was just like, it's unexplainable.
Yeah. One time we were RVing. My dad got an RV when we were like pretty young, and we would just like do little mini vacations driving around because all of our family was in California and we lived up here. So there was one time where we were kind of like pulled over on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. Turns out we were by a prison. And like my sister and I woke up in the RV and we were like, whoa, like we're in ET. And then my dad was like, what do you mean? And like all these spotlights and sirens and cop cars were going everywhere. There was a prison break.
Oh my
Cop
gosh.
knocked on our door and he was like, have you let anyone into this motorhome? And my dad was like, no, it's just us and the kids. He's like, can you make sure that it's just you and the kids?
That's
It was
creepy.
So scary. That's probably why I don't watch scary movies now that I think about it.
Dude, one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me happened at your house when you weren't there.
At my house?
You know this story?
You know,
Remember,
the story.
I was trying to not let your wife hear about this story because she would have been upset. When I was packing merch, like the first year I started for Grindhard, everyone else was out of
me when I lived in Clark Fork. You mean like recently?
Yeah, like at the house you currently live in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has anything else weird happened? I guess I haven't told the story yet, but that was frightening. I was just packing merch. We had a lot of merch to ship out. We were doing a giveaway for something. I forget what giveaway.
Yeah,
that was the BRZ giveaway.
No, that was...
It was before it.
It was
That
before
the
that.
Banshee before.
Banshee giveaway?
Banshee giveaway,
Yeah,
probably.
with the
Yep.
Banshee.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I'm still haunted by all those Banshee shirts. But
Oh, those Banshee shirts were awesome with the burnout.
I don't know what happened to mine.
Yeah, I don't think I
yeah,
know.
I might have one I could get you.
So there was a night I was like, I'm just going to stay really late and get a ton of bags packed and ready for shipping off the next day because we were so far behind. And I was working like every day, like 10 or more hours shipping it. I'm like, I'm just going to stay up as late as I can and stay at Edwin's house, and then I'll be able to take it in the morning.
Yeah. Logical.
And I was like in this groove. I had music going. I was drinking sparkling waters. Thanks for leaving the fridge stocked for me. That was premium.
I did that on purpose.
Yep.
I got
And everything was fine and normal. And the way that room's set up is you like kind of step down from your house into that room.
Yeah, it's
and
a
then the computer
refurbished
is
garage.
across from that, so your back is to the door.
Yep.
And I just had the door open because it's kind of cold in there and stuff. So this is, like I had a fire going in your fireplace, trying to let some heat come in. But I was vibing. Everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, like I'm at the computer typing in some address or whatever to make this label. I just got chills down my spine, like very noticeable. And I was like, oh, and like looked behind me. There's nothing. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It's like turned the music up, just kept doing my thing. And then I was like, this is weird. So I turned the music off and I was like kind of looking around. Nothing's going on. Thought it was fine. Took a sip of my sparkling water, looked back at the computer, and then I hear this thump, 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 thump. And I'm like, what the heck? Everything on the table behind me had just like looked like it was brushed off. Like everything, heavy things, like packing tape, packages, like Grindhard shirts, everything just fell on the ground in a little pile. And it was very creepy. I left. I was like, no. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
what you do.
staying
You
here.
leave.
Yeah.
Bad things happen when you stay. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking maybe Will is an alien since he doesn't have any alien stories, and that's why he doesn't have any alien stories. And that would actually explain a lot. That's why you're invincible. That's why you can get ran over by a truck and heal in like 3 days.
Yeah. Maybe I am an alien. If I was an alien, I probably wouldn't know I was an alien. That would kind of defeat the purpose.
Do you have any like weird powers?
Not really.
I like how you did think about it though.
I don't really have a lot of powers, but
But you don't have any alien stories, which always means
yeah,
that you're
no, I don't have
probably an
alien stories. I'm trying to think. I don't think I even have creepy stories. I don't like the supernatural doesn't really scare me.
Your life is kind of like GTA 5 now that I think about it. Like this guy gangsters up and points a gun at you.
Yeah.
And then like you have the whole situation with your bus and like
Yeah.
yeah, you kind of do. And then
The
like you're always
spoon shanking.
speeding and you're always on probation because you're speeding all the time.
Yeah, but I'm off probation right now. And I'm very happy
He's
about
trying
that.
to get back on probation.
I'm trying not to. It is Friday the 13th, and I woke up with combustion in my mind.
Yeah.
Is that what a combustion? Like you would like?
I wake up like that most
Bunched
every
in?
day, especially after I started playing Starfield.
Yeah.
Because I'm weird. Like when Skyrim came out, I just went so hard.
Yeah.
It's an RPG and like it's just like you can do whatever you want and like collect things. And I'm a hoarder in real life. That's why my garage is like packed full with electric dirt bikes and flying surfboards.
Yeah, your wife is pushing the things into a small corner, and that's where you have to have
That's
everything.
where I exist.
Yeah.
Ethan has this mansion garage and I'm in my for you guys listening, I'm sitting in the little go-kart.
Yeah, dude, I've had to reorganize my
Yeah.
wounds from the motorcycle.
Will's sitting in the shopping cart go-kart, and Steven probably has the worst seat.
I don't know if it's the worst, but it's probably wetter than your guys because it's starting to soak through my pants.
Yeah, so he's in the
My back
the old sleeper power wheels, but man, just let me stretch out real quick. All right, what was I talking about?
You were talking about
You were talking
Starfield
about RPGs.
Oh yeah. So I'm just like a hoarder, and like I have such a hard time like distinguishing reality and not reality. And so like after I sit down and play like a video game for that long, you know, even like just a couple hours, 3 hours, then I get up and I'm like, okay, how do I level up my character? Like real life. How do I get like a bunch of stuff or learn new skills? Or like I got Starfield and I started taking boxing lessons again, like the next day. I was like, gotta learn how to fight because you never know.
You never
I gotta
know.
take boxing lessons.
Yeah.
I fixed all my motorcycles because I need to get, you know, all my gear together
Yeah.
because I gotta level up the video game. And then I want to like transfer my money into my savings account instead of just sitting in my checking account, you know? 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like, that's what you would do in the video game. You're like, oh, I gotta acquire more credits.
Yeah.
I got to put my money from my checking account into my savings account. I just get wired differently when Bathsheba drops a new game. I'm like, need to level up my real life character.
Dude, I kind of had the same reaction. I was like, wow, I could like learn new skills. And I'm like, it's
In
easier
real
than
life.
in a video game even. You can just like do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you were talking about getting a bed for your room.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you can just like acquire items and it's great. And I already have like this bartering system with my neighbors anyways.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's working good for you. You
Yeah.
got a dresser.
skis. I've got all sorts of stuff. What else have I got? Dresser and skis were the big
Your
ticket items.
table was kind of jank.
What table?
My table?
His coffee table in his house.
Oh,
He's like,
yeah.
hey man,
Well, I got
can
two
you-
coffee tables.
Can
I
you
got
help me move this coffee table? And then I'm like, how did you get a coffee table? How did you get a coffee table, Steven?
Now I'm
No,
concerned
yeah, when
about
I
this.
picked
you
it up,
should be
no,
concerned.
the lady was like, thank you so much for coming to get this. My baby keeps falling and smashing his head on the edge of this table.
Oh, what the heck? How sharp is this thing?
It's like metal edges. I was like, is
Yeah.
your baby okay?
Full of rocks. It's metal edges full of rocks.
Yeah.
And so when we brought it into his house, we cleaned off the rocks.
Oh, so it's like a rock,
There's
like
still some janky stuff
it's
in there.
got like a river vibe to it.
You've seen my table, right?
No.
Oh yeah, it's actually nice. Like it'd be even nicer if I got the Cheeto dust out from the cracks in it, but you know.
We were just concerned that maybe this, child hit his head against it.
Too hard.
Yeah.
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 Because it was like not the kind of thing you'd want to hit your head into.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to hit my head on that.
Yeah, acquiring items. I
Yeah.
mean, like we got these lights. that are on this podcast right now.
those are cool
that
item.
we've been putting off because there's just no room for them in the garage.
But it looks so nice. It looks like there's a hole in the ceiling now.
This is going to be our most consistent lighting in the podcast situation. And, last week we talked about the Grom table. So we will get like a cool podcasting table.
I
But
kind
for
of
now,
like this setup.
Yeah, pretty chill.
It's kind of nice.
Since this only worked in reverse, I guess we kind of skipped over that story, but this electric go-kart, we sent the controller back to Electro & Co., who builds the kit, and they're going to make it spin the other direction for us because you can't just switch the wires like you could a drone because of reasons.
BCM problems.
But yeah.
And a bigger battery. And didn't he say he was going to make the electronics go faster somehow?
Yeah, the battery has more like peak power for longer.
Yeah, so
we can
we'll
just
have a
hold
good
down
time.
the throttle and go.
We're gonna
and then that power kit used to come from here. So Steven's little Power Wheels he's sitting in doesn't work, but will that shopping cart fire up right now?
I don't know.
I hope not.
I don't think it has gas in it, but
Oh, and the battery doesn't have enough to crank.
sometimes you shut up.
Yeah. You're still the only one that's driven the street bike powered shopping cart with 2 powered rear wheels.
Yeah.
Which I think was a great idea. I think it would have looked really dumb being that long with
it'd be
only
silly.
4 wheels.
Yeah, no, 4-wheel drive is the way to go. And this thing rips. I wish you guys could fit in here. I can barely fit in here.
Yeah.
But it is the funnest thing I've built. Yeah. It's way more fun than the Ruckus.
You know what's funny about you, Will, is like you're a lot taller than me. And like, I don't know, like we're all different sizes and stuff, but it seems like the rest of us should be able to fit in the things you build.
I know.
Ethan and I couldn't even get our legs in there.
It's ridiculous. Like everything I built just fits me because I'm building it. So obviously I'm the one making the dimensions. And this just doesn't fit anyone else. It's the coolest thing I've built so far, I think.
And you're the only one that's driven it. So you're
Yeah.
the only person on this planet of Earth
that
that's
knows what this feels like.
driven a street bike powered shopping cart with 2 powered rear tires.
And it is insane.
What is it like?
It's like driving, like, I'm trying to think here. It would be like driving a Lamborghini that had been cut into like the Miata I used to have.
Oh, it's like a Lamborghini
Like
without
the
a
fastest,
windshield.
like 1,000 horsepower Lamborghini with nothing.
Because it has so much grip. The engine
It
is
is
just sitting
fast.
on 4 grippy, slick go-kart tires.
Yeah.
And our whole thing was, we don't trust Will. Obviously, you guys listen to the podcast. You know why we don't trust Will. At this point, he was still on probation. So we were like, let's go all the way down to the end of the road, like to the last little bit of pavement, and then we'll do a couple pulls. And then Ethan was like, and be really responsible and keep the engine quiet until we get to the very end of the back road to make it unlikely that you would piss off a neighbor or worse, validate your probation. Break your probation.
Yeah, validate would be the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, of course, the first thing he pulls onto the road, drop second, third, fourth, just goes for it. And Ethan was, you weren't even in the car. Steven and I and Ethan were all in the car. Ethan was just ranting about how irresponsible you are and how you were about to get arrested or make the neighbors mad. Because you just go, yee. And then we finally get, and Ethan's yelling at him, and he's like, I wasn't even going that fast. I could have gone way faster.
Yeah.
But what does it feel like? Like, honestly, like
That's the thing, is like, you guys, like, it would look irresponsible to you guys because you haven't driven it. You feel locked in this baby.
it's irresponsible to go 80 miles an hour on the road in a shopping cart.
I know, but you just feel good. Like, the noise, it all goes away. It all turns into a blur when you
Like,
get
it
this stick
actually
in your
doesn't
hand.
feel sketchy.
No, not at all. Like, it feels safer than anything I've ever driven before.
While you drive the jankest machines imaginable.
Yeah, but it feels very safe. Like,
Just Monday, you said, I'm going to be late to work. My car caught fire.
almost
And
caught fire.
that's a separate than the BMW
Yeah.
story. That's your new car.
Yeah, that almost caught fire, but it's fixed now. So
So it actually feels safe. You're not joking.
no, like, and like, until it doesn't. And that's the thing that's really scary is like this thing feels so safe until it doesn't. And then you're already past the point of no return.
So is it when you're turning or hit a certain speed?
Like there was a point when in that video that we were doing with this on the street, which I want to redo because I have a lot better idea of how to drive this now. I just want to get used to it a little bit. And I think I could just roast this thing. I think it would be so fun, like on like a rented track or something.
I just want to drop the clutch and burn all 4 rear tires in a couple seconds.
Just like when we were doing that shoot, I wanted to do that too. I wanted to drop the clutch and roast the tires. And I went like turned the wheel like this and dropped the clutch at high RPM. And it lifted up on both of these tires and just was like,
Well, that road we were on is chip sealed though.
Yeah, it was very scary.
For those of you who don't live in, they only do that in places it snows, right? Mm-hmm. It's the dumbest thing.
It's the worst.
They cover your nice smooth road that's fun to drive on.
Gravel.
What's the sticky stuff that holds the gravel on the road?
Tar. Tar all over it.
So they cover it in tar, dump like big chunks of gravel, and then the whole time's like, "Grr." But it is the grippiest mama jama you could imagine, especially if you have 4 tires that are slicks with an engine right on top of it.
Yeah, like it will not slide on that pavement. Not at all.
A grippy boy.
Yeah, grippy boy.
I don't think you ever spun the tires the whole time.
So I want to do it now without chip seal, reversed fan wiring because it was overheating because I pumped air from the engine to the radiator instead from the radiator out.
Yeah, we did kind of take it out a little premature.
Yeah, but this thing is a beast. I could drive this thing to work, man.
So where can we actually drive it, though, where you won't get arrested, where there isn't chip seal?
Let's just hit the streets.
Can we just trick some like autocross place into letting us have a heyday with that and with this?
Yeah.
And with whatever else we have.
That'd be so
and our
fun.
golf cart, our R1 golf cart. So I think the autocross people are big on DOT approved seat belts, actually.
Yeah, they are really into that.
Can
If
we
your
find
car has a lift at all, it needs a roll cage, which the golf cart has a roll cage.
And almost DOT approved seats.
It's that I think they don't allow lifted cars at all. And then if you have a convertible, it has to have
roll
a roll
cage. Yeah, that's it.
Which
we need a place.
A golf cart, a shopping cart is technically a convertible.
So it would need a roll cage.
Oh, we just put another cart upside down on top of it. We'll just like put you in like a clamshell.
You'd be a sandwich.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
And then I crash and the shopping cart like bends around me.
Well, you know how in the last Whistle and Diesel video, he was on a private airstrip.
Yeah.
We just need to meet someone with a private airstrip.
And not spill oil on the airstrip at all. Because I bet that's very illegal.
Well, no, it's private. You can do whatever you want on a private airstrip.
Yeah.
Right?
We just need to find a little airport.
The problem is all the little airports around here are gravel.
Exactly. I think there's maybe one in Montana. So JR Garage, they used to post on YouTube all the time. Now I think they mainly just do Instagram, but they have a bunch of like really cool car collections, and they posted this really cool YouTube video that they bought like a hangar on this airstrip, and they're going to move all their cars there and do all this drag racing there. And I don't think it ever happened. I don't know if they were like in some kind of HOA situation where they like wouldn't let them bring their Lamborghinis on the drag strip, or it's not a drag strip, it's for planes. What's that called?
Airstrip.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
On the airstrip. So I imagine, like, what's the point of having access to a private airstrip if you can't drag race your Lamborghini on it?
Yeah.
Who would buy that?
I wouldn't.
I know. Like, it's way more fun to drag race than, like, put your plane on it. You can just put your plane on anywhere else. You can't drag race anywhere else without being arrested.
Yeah. That's the case.